What up, everybody, and welcome to Deep Look. We are live. It is Wednesday, October 29th. Normally, we're live Tuesdays at noon Eastern, but little travel back from the West Coast after the Club National Championships. Keith Raynor, Charlie Eisenhood with you. Thanks for being with us, Keith. It was a beautiful weekend in San Diego, as always. And, I mean, we got some chalk, but we also got some absolutely wild results. It was a heck of a Club Nationals, including a pre-quarters round, Keith, where 7 of the 12 games went to Universe Point. Unprecedented.
And we had a field pass right there to pick it all up with roving cameras. I mean, I'm sad that I missed that round of being in the field pass tent because I saw a little bit of commentator Danny Proby's behind the scenes, and it looked lit in there.
It was I was in the field pass tent. I was not commentating. I was like helping figure out where to send our cameras, and it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy because it was like at some point it was like we don't have enough cameras. We can only show 4 games at a time on the screen, and it's like, well, we're just gonna have to try to balance. And we had 6 games, kind of swapping in and out. It was wild. How are your travels back? I haven't talked to you since we left San Diego.
That's true. It's never the most fun to fly and wake up at like 5 a.m. and switch planes. I had like a 2-hour layover, roughly. Maybe not even an hour and a half. Also, I had to board my plane.
Red eye layover is not good.
I had to board my plane as I almost missed. I was on Southwest, so it's really important to be at your plane at boarding time because you got to make sure although not when you're flying the red eye, it turns out. I'll come back to that. But the Dodgers were coming up to bat in the bottom of the ninth. And what turned out was
the bottom of the ninth
game. Oh my gosh. So I had to board the plane, and then I fell asleep. So I woke up, and I think the game maybe it just ended. I don't know. When I woke up in my next destination. Also, you don't need to be there at Southwest because when you fly the red eye, they actually make everybody spread out on the plane. So there's so few people flying the red eye that they need you to distribute your weight across the plane evenly.
Did you get a full row to yourself?
I think like everybody who wanted one did.
Wow. Did you lie down?
No, the person across the aisle for me, though, took advantage of that.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Keith, I believe it was you that texted me about that game, and I really wish you had not, because I proceeded to watch the entire game on the plane while like watching the time ticking down towards arrival in New York, and I was like, oh God, like I should really go to bed, but I just need to see what happens. And so then I ended up sleeping like 1 hour on the flight. Not great.
I know. I was like
right.
looking at I was in the terminal. I was like, it's the World Series. Like, let me peek over. Little did I know. And then I pulled up on my phone. And I'm like, oh, Shohei has 10 total bases already. What's going on?
Reached base 9 times. That will never happen again. That will never
after
happen
that,
again.
After that, they just walked him every time. I mean, the guy's the GOAT. What are we doing?
All right. Much to get to today as we recap Club Nationals. But first, it's time for our trivia question of the week.
All right, let's jump right in and talk about one of the winners from the club championships. Somebody just won their 3rd straight club title. 3 straight seasons, 3 championships. Who was it? Which player was it?
I got this one on lock. I'll let people think about it while you tell us about Breakmark.
Yes. Noodle on that for a little bit. Now, if you need to stock up for your team or upgrade your gear for this upcoming season, you got to check out our friends over at Breakmark. They're in their 20th year anniversary. They're celebrating this year. They offer great gear bundles to help you save money. And you got to make sure you're following them on Instagram if you want to get some of that free stuff that they're giving away every week. They've added awesome new products lately, like their sleeveless hoodie. Really that's a great one for San Diego. If you're going to be out there. They got tights. They got crop tops. And they dropped the price on all their core sublimated items like their jerseys, which used to be $60. They're down to $35. So that price is only locked in till the end of 2025. So visit breakmark.com and get that deal while you can.
All right, Keith. 3 straight titles. Rarely done, I feel like, especially lately. I mean, how many players have won 3 in a row?
We got to ask Brody, especially like we got to ask Brody. I mean, obviously there'll be a nice fat list from like Fury's Dynasty.
Yeah, like mid 2000s. Yeah.
But this is mostly not done now these days, especially with multiple teams.
Well, the answer is Aaron Bartlett. I happen to know this one. Back to back with Hybrid and one with Truck Stop in 23.
Just happen to know it. No, you know ball, Charlie. That's what that means. Although don't look at Charlie's fantasy performance and as evidence for him.
Hang on a second. I did just fine in the fantasy game.
Yeah, no, I just trolled you. That was just an open troll. Although
we'll come back to I finished fifth in the women's league, 17th in the mixed league in our deep look leagues, and 29th in the men's. I feel like as a combined performance, I probably and I had to draft. I feel like I certainly outclassed you. I don't even have to look. I know I beat you.
We might have. We can add our total scores and see who had the highest total score. I finished 24th in the women's, and I finished 6th in the mixed league. So I was almost took down the mixed league, but I was 84th in the men's league. So
I cooked you then. There's nothing to see here. I didn't win, but the one thing I did do in men's that was literally required in order to win was
get Don
Emery and put him as my captain.
Yeah, and I couldn't
was absolutely
do that.
Unbelievable.
Not an option for me. So.
All right. That was fun, the Fantasy Frisbee. We'll come back to our games and things a little bit later on. Let's keep it moving. We're going to jump right into the women's division, which is certainly the biggest story of the weekend from a champion's perspective, because after an unbelievable season, San Francisco Fury came into the game 4.5 point favorites. I put a poll on our Discord, and they got, I think, 60% of people picking them at -4.5.
You were talking about maybe moving them to 5.5 when we did our live.
I was talking about it. And Fury comes out, gives up 4 straight breaks, and proceeds to never get back within even 1 goal in the game. They get 2 total breaks. Brute Squad with an unbelievable finals performance, and they win their 5th title in the last 10 years. They've now got more titles than Fury in the last 10 seasons, and this has got to be the most impressive of the batch for me. This was an incredible upset that I don't think many realistically saw coming.
Fury, I don't think got broken until quarters. So, the 4 breaks that they gave up in this game, because they only gave up what? They gave up 2 in semis, I think. Yeah, they gave up 2 in semis. So to come out and give up 4 to start the game against Brute Squad, 10 turnovers in your first 4 0 points is disaster. Crazy. Now it is a little more Fury than most teams. They're, as we've discussed over the course of the season, they're not exactly a possession-oriented team. But Brute Squad had their number. I mean, I was just in Discord. I mean, I think I was also doing stats for this game. So I was doing stats, and then I would pop over to the Discord and just look for some meme of like, chat, is this really happening? Like, is this real? Is what's happening in front of my eyes? Because I'm not sure I believe it. And each successive score, it was more unbelievable. After that initial run, the game was pretty even. But
it was
starting down 4-0, pretty tough spot.
Yeah, it was. You see Levka in the image there in the champion graphic, and she deserves to be there. What a performance from Levka Volchak, who goes for a +9 with 4 turnovers. She had 5 goals, 4 assists, 4 blocks, including some critical blocks in that early run that set them up to win the game, and was just like everywhere on the field. And this was like, this was very similar to how we saw her playing with Team Germany back at the World Games, except she was just better, right? She had those kinds of turnovers at the World Games too, and she was still this like locus of the team, but she was better for Brute in a very similar high volume role, and they really just had no answer. I mean, up and down the roster. I mean, I thought Leanne Hoffman had one of her best nationals in since I can remember, like certainly since the last Brute Squad title run. I mean, we used to talk about Leanne Hoffman as a top 5 player in the division, and I think we still thought she was pretty good. But yeah, Keith, where did she finish in our top 25 players list this
I
season?
I don't I don't think she was on it.
She might not
she
even
might
have
have
been in the
received.
top 25, right?
No, she might have received. She definitely wasn't in it. Like by my memory, I'm going off memory here, but I think that I'm not even sure she got votes. That's more of a question to me.
Clock turned back. Leanne Hoffman goes for 4 goals and no turnovers in the final. Laura Ospina played great. Liv Player played great despite having to leave the field for a few points due to illness, but then comes back and is on the line to close it out. And ultimately, they win 15-12. This game wasn't even that close. What shocks me, Keith, is that the Fury defense just wasn't really able to capitalize in the way that we've seen them pretty much all season. I mean, I don't know Fury's average breaks per game this year against let's just say against Nationals teams only, probably like 7. They got 2 in the final.
And part of that, I think, is what do they call it in our commentary sources? Recovered points, right? Points where you hold
Yep.
after turning it over, or score after turning it over. They went 1 for 5 on that, or 2 for 10. I think is actually 2 for 10. Like that's not what you expect from Fury. That's kind of like part of the game plan is like, hey, we're going to play fast. We're going to play in transition a lot. We're going to be aggressive, and we know we can earn it back. And Root Squad was unyielding for much of the game, and it was a team effort. I think to me, yeah, you get the big plays from Levka Volchak, but it was a balanced offensive effort from a lot of players who just were not giving the disc back. Grace Connerly, Laura Espina, maybe at the forefront of that in my mind. Tulsa Douglas, Aaron McCann. Like it was just a team wide. Like we're not going to just fold back to them in the way that other teams have. Very very impressive stuff from Brute Squad offensively in their ability to execute, and that's kind of been the thing nobody could do against Fury. It was never a question of could you get turnovers, although Brute Squad, the quality of Brute Squad's turnovers was very high. But I think maybe we differ on our perspectives on this. I firmly feel like Brute Squad took this game, and rather than Fury lost it.
Oh,
We debate this
no,
sometimes.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, I think Fury played one of their worst games of the season. I mean, it's sort of by definition, right? Because they lost. But and they just had some really howlingly bad turnovers in that early stretch of the game. Because I mean, there was some stuff where like Levka got an incredible poach D kind of like through the middle, like running from all the way on the weak side of the field, like anticipating the space. There's a great clip of it in our recap highlights of the finals. And you can see her on the drone footage recognize where the next cut is coming, sprint like 40 yards across the field, and get an easy block because
If someone
just
if someone
no
doesn't
feel from the thrower that there's somebody in that space.
if somebody doesn't get to it first, I'm hoping to take some film and do a short breakdown of like, here's that pattern for Fury against everybody else, and here's that pattern when Brute Squad was like, let me get it.
Absolutely.
I caught Molly Brown was catching wise to some of these patterns from the Fury offense as well. They just didn't get the blocks. There's one where Lisa Picaithley like poaches off and nearly gets it in the semifinal, but doesn't get to it and instead collides with her teammate and there's an injury sub. But I imagine Brute Squad saw that tape and was like, oh, we're all over this.
Yeah. So let's just look at the semis. Fury gets 7 breaks on 10 Molly O-line turns. The Fury offense has 4 turnovers. And they give up 1 break on the first. They give up 2 breaks. One in the first point of the game and 1 in garbage time. Then we look at the finals. Fury's offense. Is this? I looked at the wrong thing. I was like, wait, what? Again, in the finals, the Fury offense has 11 turnovers. They get broken 4 times on those 11 turnovers. Most of those turnovers, by the way, as you've just mentioned, Keith, 10 coming in those first 4 points where they got broken. They only had 1 turnover after that. So they really cleaned it up. The problem was that their defense couldn't do anything. The Brute O-line had 10 turns, but only gave up 2 breaks. And that really is the difference. Brute's O-line defense and their ability to then execute once they got the disc back was very strong. And no team had been able to unlock. I mean, this was the blueprint to beat Fury, right? Take advantage of the turnovers that you get and then be able to hold out. And that's exactly what Brute Squad did.
And nobody else could do that because of the quality of Fury's defense, right? Like, they have so many incredible defenders on this Fury side, and Brute Squad just didn't back down. And that it was very impressive to me how good they were at maintaining possession throughout this game. And once they surprised Fury, that was enough because then they could just kind of hold out. And another credit to Brute Squad is they were doing it shorthanded. They're missing for like half the game. They're missing live player. Like, they're missing Carolyn Tornquist from this team. They're playing with 20 people or something by the time that this final starts. So a lot of credit to Brute Squad, the leadership, the coaching staff. Team seems super well prepared. They really rose to the occasion. They didn't let that kind of, you used to hear this about the old Fury teams, that you've started the game down to them because you were just intimidated. Teams just came out and they played scared. And Brute Squad felt in control of this game from the jump in a way that teams just mostly don't do against Fury.
And this was just classic Brute Squad. They lose twice at US Open. They get kind of thumped by Fury. They lose to Riot. Then they go to Pro Champs. They lose to Fury by 3. The best game anybody put up against them all season before the finals. They lose to Scandal by 2. They lose to Phoenix by 3. They look okay. And then they show up at Nationals and they play their absolute best. And when they get to the bracket, the first thing they do is absolutely stomp a very good Portland Schwa team 15-2. And then a comfortable wins against Scandal and Fury. And so the question I have for you, Keith, does this very clearly show to you that Brute Squad was the best team this year? Or do you feel like they won the big game, but Fury was still the best team? Because I think people are going to be discussing this.
That's a fair question. In that, my emotion and of the moment, wants to say, well, obviously Brute Squad was the best team because they were the best team at Nationals. That beating they put on Schwa is the largest margin of victory I can find in a women's quarter in the modern era. This just doesn't happen. You don't just thump a team, let alone a team that was actually doing pretty well this year. And the fact is that it felt like we didn't really see the full Brute Squad team. I'm still not entirely sure that we ever really did. But maybe that lends some idea to okay, they were playing below their ceiling for the regular season. So the team that you need to be worried about is the team that we saw here at Nationals, because that was when everything coalesced for them. It's hard to say because aside from this game, Fury was the better team, right? Brute, don't forget, Brute was trailing 8-5 in semis. And obviously you play the whole game. You don't play it at just a half. So they won that game 15-12. Credit to them. It looked like they were done. And to turn it around, I don't know, man.
I mean, it sort of looked like they were done, but they also got 5.
That was a weird game. That Scandal game was weird. A lot of weird turnovers.
5 unanswered breaks.
Yeah. I mean, Scandal had Cammie Groom, wide open Huck, catches it on the goal line with a chance to tie it 11-11. They throw away Cammie throws away a wide open, one of those dishes to somebody running up behind you, and for what would have been a free score, they throw it away. Brute Squad converts. It was a really weird game. There are many instances of weird plays like that.
So, yeah, I mean, I,
I know
I'm
I
still
didn't answer
just
the
like trying
question.
to
I really don't know.
process. Yeah, you won't take a side. I want you to take a side. Take a side.
I
What do you
obfuscated.
think?
I I don't want to diminish what Brute did in the final. I think Fury was the better team, and if you resim Nationals, like they would win more times than Brute Squad out of 10. But that's disavowing the idea that Brute Squad had a game plan to beat Fury. Like if you automatically say anytime that Fury and Brute Squad match up, like Brute Squad gets a 3-goal advantage by that particular matchup strength, by the fact that they had the game plan to beat Fury and that they could execute it. I, I that's the part I can't square. You know, I think Fury was probably the better team on balance, but the matchups matter. The team that you have to play matters.
Yeah, I'm going to take the other side. I think Brute showed you that when they had their full roster, that they
Which
were
they
just
still
clearly the
didn't.
best team. Well, fair. But I mean, look, you can win all these TCT games you want. Who cares? Like the teams have showed us they don't even care. So why should I care? Like obviously Fury had an amazing season, but to lose the one game that actually counts, like I say it sometimes, like there's only for the very top teams, there's only a couple of games a year that matter. And Fury failed in the spot that they needed to succeed, and they didn't have the answers offensively with either their O line or their D line offense to to get past this Brute Squad team. And credit to Brute, like it doesn't matter if you're the best team in August or July. It matters if you're the best team in the finals, and they very clearly were that. And this one's going to sting for Fury for a while because we're all getting ready to crown them one of the greatest teams of all time, and then they get stunned in the final, which included some weird stuff, some weird drops. Anna Thompson had a drop, um, after which she played an amazing game. I mean, I think the Fury offense ended up playing pretty good the rest of the way, but I still can't believe their D line only got 2 breaks.
When I look
I
at
shouldn't say
this
their D
game,
line. I should say their defense.
their defense, yeah, the score line is not the same as the men's final last year, but you can see the parallels, right? Like you can see how the team that everybody expected to be on the front foot, the team that was at the beginning of the season talked about as being hyper talented, just like feels totally lost for much of the way. Like I wonder if what we're seeing is a trend where even the teams that feel like they're in another tier, if it takes more than that now. You need the separation just isn't big enough from the other elite teams. And if you don't bring your A game in the final, you can get dusted up.
Yep, and that's exactly what we saw. We're looking at the bracket right now. If you're joining us on YouTube, always glad to have you with us live here on the show. What else stands out? I think, obviously Molly had a great run, Keith,
Yeah, we have to talk
and
about them.
they found their form.
It would be criminal of us to ignore them after the slander they've taken. Which to be I stand by. Like the way they played in the season prior to this was the way they played in their season prior to this. But they brought it at nationals. We saw them return to form. We saw a lot of the star players who we were expecting a lot of deliver. And yeah, they were. It was a roller coaster journey for Molly Brown fans. 4 Universe Point games. They go 3-1 across those. Where the sweat at the end of pool play, where we're all starting to look at, okay, what was your point differential against Heist in Pool C? And we're wondering if we're going to end up with a coin flip, or if you could, if you could beat Heist 15-1, you're going to win the pool or something. It was a wild weekend for Molly Brown, and I'm sure their fans at home were uh, really going through it.
I mean, let's be honest. They kind of said, "Hey, Claire, Vale, Manu, please go crazy. And they did. They went crazy. And I don't think they were going to ever be deep enough to beat a Fury or a Brute. But for them to get back to semis again for the 5th straight time, despite coming in as the 9 seed and having to win multiple universe point games along the way. They beat Scandal. This is great. What a crazy nationals. Beat Scandal 15-14 to open the tournament. What a way to start. That was game 1 on the showcase field. Then they lose to Phoenix on Universe. Then they beat Sixers in pre-quarters on Universe. Then they beat Bent in quarters on Universe. And that game, they were down big in that game, and they came back to win. Bent fans sick to their stomach. I mean, if you watch the Inside Out coverage after that game, I mean, Pat Stegemeller and Katie Gear were down very bad for like 15 minutes. And yeah, I mean, Bent was that close, but having those players who have those really, really big game reps and aren't afraid of the moment, very important. And that's what we saw from them. And credit to Molly for pulling it together. I knew they were going to play better at nationals. I don't think I saw them getting all the way back to semis.
I mean, neither of us did. Neither of us picked them. But then maybe that's because we didn't know who Alex Guy was, the leading goal scorer on the team. Shout out Alex Guy. But I think I'm trying to remember the exact stat, so I may make a rounding error here. But going into their semifinal against Fury, Molly Brown had played like 80 points, or Fury had played like 80 points, and Molly Brown had played like 130 points.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
they were never going to have the gas in the tank for that one.
Also, Jesse, I was really impressed with Jessie Schaffner in her return. It's good to see Schaff like doing the things we know them for. Like just playing with the same passion. Love it.
I'm happy to report that Alex Guy was in fact an excellent fantasy pick, and those who tailed me are going to be happy with their 12 goal, 3 block, 0 turn,
no turns,
$3
no
player.
turns,
no turns.
I watched her foot race Una Scazzieri to the front cone and win. Come on.
Come on. And we get the same semis that we've had the past couple of years in the women's division. Or the dominant teams, I should say. And there were the teams that were the almosts again. Phoenix and Bent and Riot. I think disappointing season for Riot overall. Not like a shameful thing to lose to Scandal in quarters, but they didn't have a very good nationals, especially after the year that they had. And I think Bent's got to be pretty disappointed considering, they win their pool. They're in this great spot. They have a big second half lead and they let it slip away. And, you wonder, can Bent keep getting better? I mean, maybe. Gina still looks like one of the best players in the division. If she sticks around and they recruit a little bit more, they've definitely got a chance to finally break through and get to semis. But the window will close eventually, and you feel like they're going to be ruining their opportunity in this year.
What year is this podcast? Charles over here like, wow, Leanne Hoffman's unstoppable. Claire Chastain, Gina Cartagena. Like, where are we? Yeah, Bent feels like a little bit different than, like Phoenix and Flipside, like drag each other down in pre-quarters. And so Phoenix has nothing left really in the quarters. Riot, they struggle to pool play. So it definitely a disappointing run for them. Yeah, the challenger class again just couldn't come through. I think Bent was their best hope, having been the pool winner, and it just didn't play out in the way they needed it to. We electrifying pre-quarters round didn't necessarily lead us to a great quarters round.
All right, well, let's attack this mailbag question that we got before we move on to the mixed division. Fury, this is I don't know who it's from, but Fury seemed to make a number of unforced errors in their final against Brute this year. I remember something similar happening in their 2022 finals loss to Molly Brown. Are there other relevant parallels between those games and or those teams? What do you think, Keith?
Well, I mean, we talked a lot about Fury's kind of strategy, and that's not new for them, right? Like coming out and being a balanced team that beats you up with waves of great defenders is not new for Fury. So that part I think stands in as a parallel. There's a lot of even similar players across those rosters, um, and you know, I don't know if like Molly. I think that Molly Brown team has some similarities with the Brute Squad team in the fact that they were like doing a lot of similar things that Fury was doing. Running more balanced lines, using their depth. Brute Squad was playing a lot of their players across this game, um, but I do think that like having the right game plan against Fury and not being intimidated are vital to these upsets, as it were. But I'm not sure that there's much else I've come to yet across the two teams between Brute Squad and 2022 Molly Brown.
I think it's worth a rewatch to see if there's specific X's and O's things that are happening.
Yeah.
I think for one thing I will say is that I think teams understanding that Fury is the team that they will need to beat at nationals are very cautious about showing things on tape or showing them looks defensively earlier in the season so that they are ready to pull those things out in a bracket game at nationals. And certainly we've even heard this from some Brute players that they did that. They saw some things at Pro Champs. They didn't stop them intentionally at Pro Champs in order to be able to then attack those patterns at nationals. And obviously, they horribly disrupted the Fury offense for the first 4 points of that game. After which, Fury didn't turn it over again or had one more turnover. But it worked because they got those early breaks, and that's what they needed to win the game.
I'm laughing because imagine they couldn't have found their way out of that A5 hole at semifinals and they died with their anti-Fury strategy in their pockets. What are they?
Yeah,
what are they?
I mean,
in their last breath, they like hand it to Scandal. They're like, "Here, take the secret sauce. Take the kryptonite with you."
All right, let's move on. Let's talk mixed. Hybrid completes the Triple Crown, and they did what we kind of expected Fury to do, which is just dominate the entire way. What a performance from this hybrid team as they go back to back and have the makings, Keith, of a new dynasty in the mixed division. Could they win 3 in a row? I mean, if they keep this team together, I don't see why not. Their closest game at nationals is a 3-goal win over Shame in semis. They dominate Exist in the finals 15-9, and they just have the answers. I mean, such a skilled team on both the male matching and female matching sides. And they did some cool stuff. We got an email from a viewer and a listener about hybrids like rolling pull scheme and then using poaching from the male matching defenders, try to gum up the lanes from an Exist team that really uses their women perhaps better than any team in the division. And they got a bunch of turns off of that. And they just dominated, Keith. They were the best team from start to finish this season.
And you want to talk about pocketing looks. I mean, they saved that one. They didn't want to put that on tape, which is shrewd and something that maybe you can feel confident to do, and you can deliver even without having to pull out every trick out of your bag. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Bartlett, aforementioned as a 3-time straight title winner, 12 combined goals and assists in the semis and finals with just 3 turnovers. So that's pretty good stuff for a kid who's, I think he still has another year in college. Although when I talked to him after the final, he was like, he felt like he didn't even play that well. He's like,
yeah, he did say
my
that.
team, my team was doing the work for me. So I don't know.
Yeah, Bartlett is going to be the craziest hard carry for Michigan this year. How far can they go with him? It's going to be a fun storyline. But like, I don't know. Makeda Matamore was awesome this weekend. Rachel Mass continued to play amazing. I mean, she had 2 goals, an assist, and 2 blocks in the finals with no turns. She was awesome. And everywhere you look, I mean, we barely even talked about arguably the best defender still in the mixed division, Nathan Champeau. Like, he was not the focal point this season, and yet, continued to go out there and play great ultimate and shut people down. The Texas imports played great. Chase Cunningham was very good. Dalton Smith was very good. I don't know what there is to say. Like, this team is way more talented than anybody else in the division, and they went out there and rolled. And if it's again like this next year, they're going to roll again.
Someone whose name is Aaron Bartlett and who's talking like Aaron Bartlett is in the chat. Says, upon rewatch, I want to apologize for not glazing Rachel Mast enough in my interview. Yeah, let the Rachel Mast glazing begin. Tremendous season, fantastic player. The fact that they won last year without her after she got hurt at the beginning of the semifinals is wild. But just like such a, for an O-line player, and she's great at offense. I mean, she is a nasty defender. 3 blocks for an O-line cutter in semis and finals is like regular stuff for her. It's like just a normal thing.
Here's her U.S. Open and Club Nationals combined stats. The 2 tournaments they take stats at during the year. Rachel Mast has 22 goals, 8 assists, 8 blocks, and 4 turnovers. She's 3rd on the team in blocks behind Ben Lewis and Skunk, playing on the O-line. She was unbelievable this season.
But like you said, they were super deep. They there were good players for that team who were not even getting a ton of run and not even getting a ton of usage. Like Maddie Simcoe's on the D line. Kat McGuire was playing D line. Lily Hobday was really good for them. Abe Coffin like taking a more reserved role with players like Jonathan Mass stepping up. So Sarah Nitz, someone who's been like an all club level player, taking on a smaller role, making more room for McKenna Mattimore. So this team was super deep. There was a reason they were a big favorite, but they delivered. They played well. This Exist team that they played against is a high energy team, and that's what they're looking for, especially against a team like Hybrid, to get them really excited and fired up and to kind of build up some momentum. And Hybrid just wouldn't let them, and in fact, kind of stole it away in the second half. The first half was pretty close. Like it felt like the game was still up for grabs at the end of the first half. Hybrid breaks to go up 8-6, but like that gave some separation. But prior to that, it had been a pretty tight first half. But second half, it just felt like Exist could never climb out of the hole.
High energy, you say? Intense, you say?
Yes.
Well, let's get to it, Keith. Early in the second half, Sadie Jezierski scores a point, and let's take a look here at the play.
The stall count rising, floats it up, and it's caught by Jezierski, who stares down Dalton Smith, letting him know that she is here to play.
I just want to let you know that he called me
Blue card.
in the moment, and I didn't feel like that's fair, so that's why I did it.
That is.
And I'm fine to take the blue card.
Yeah.
I am not negating that. I definitely did that.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know that is what happened.
Yeah, no, if we had heard that,
No, totally.
there would have been something
You're good.
there.
No worries.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know.
Okay. That's fair.
All right, Keith. I don't know why we bleeped it out.
Can
She
you see
said
me?
That he called her a bitch. Can I see you personally?
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to the beginning of that clip, you could find out where I am because I'm there. There's my legs
on
at
the
the top
tape.
of the screen. This is how close I am to this play. So I have.
So
I do have
let's
my
watch it
perspective
again.
on
So
what's happening.
Sadie's kind of boxing out here. Then just kind of like finding the soft spot here in the zone. And maybe a little contact there on the arms. And then like immediate stare down in his grill. And let's see, what does Dalton say here? Kind of hard to see in the lip read. We need John Boy to be on the case. Keith,
I think
you were
cut
right
away
there.
mid-sentence.
You were right there. What did you think happened here? What did you see?
All right, so both from stuff that I've heard and being there, I do have a sense of what I think happened. I will say, and I want to say this up front, I could not hear that conversation that you were just looking at between Sadie and Dalton. So I don't know for sure what was said between the two of them. It's like another spam call. I've been getting inundated with spam phone calls today. So my interpretation of what happened is that bid from Dalton, Sadie took issue with. And from looking at the film, I think you can see maybe a little contact on Dalton's follow through with Sadie's arm or the disc as she like makes the catch. And I think Sadie felt like there was something aggressive there or unsafe about that. Like maybe Dalton was trying to rip the disc away. Like that's how she interpreted that action. I can't ascribe intent in any way to Dalton in this situation. The bid didn't look particularly dangerous to me. Looks like Dalton avoids pretty much all the dangerous contact. But I also can't speak to how Sadie felt. That's the read that I had on that, because her immediate reaction was to yell, "Hey," right in his face. That's the first thing that is like obvious on the broadcast is she says, "Hey," standing over him. As he gets up, I think he says something to her. Clearly, you can see on the film that he says something to her. I would say it's something along the lines of like, "Get out of my face, bitch," or something like so that to that effect. Certainly from what Sadie says, who seems very adamant about what was said. That's how I'm interpreting what happens here. Dalton walks away. Sadie says a few more words and gets in his face more after he says that, and then everybody separated. You see all the rest on film. You hear from Sadie when she's talking to the observers. That's what I'm seeing here. I've heard some thoughts that maybe he said something earlier in the point or earlier in the game, and that she was kind of loaded up to be frustrated with him. But from where I sat, I think everything that happened was mostly in that shot. And maybe there were certainly some calls earlier in the game where there was some discussion, but I don't think anything particularly aggressive prior to that.
Well, it didn't really work out for Exist, as Hybrid went on to score 5 of the next 6 points and put the game away. But it definitely spiced things up in the middle of the contest, Keith.
I mean, honestly, I think it took Exist off kilter. I think they lost focus.
You do
at that point.
You think it hurt their chances, huh?
Yeah, I mean, this is an energy team. They were open about that fact, and I think this soured their energy. They redirected focus. You got your spirit captains talking to their spirit captains. You got people holding Dross brothers back from going over there. Like it shifts your energy and your focus away from the game. And so their energy that they were building up now is not being directed to on the field. It's being directed to other places. On the next point, Sadie was pretty lucky to not get blue carded for a bid in the back that would have cost the team a yardage penalty, and which their coaches had expressly said, "We can't get another blue after this." Sadie said, "I deserve the first blue. I get it. I totally deserve the first blue." But then they had a negative interaction on the next possession. So I think it really did throw Exist off that moment.
Maybe. I'm more inclined to think that Hybrid was just the better team. I mean, they got 3 breaks to Exist 1 in the first half. Exist never broke again. Hybrid just was inevitably going to pull away in this game. And
that I'm not necessarily disputing. Like, I don't think Hybrid won the game because of this, but I do think it squashed any Exist comeback. Like, I think it was wrapped basically here, because all the breaks come after this. 3 more breaks that add the separation here. I think this going to 15-12 is probably more likely than 15-9.
Fair. Let's take a look at the bracket. Hybrid probably, I think it's fair to say, got clearly their toughest test of the tournament against Shame. Shame was right in that game for a while, and I mean, I talked to somebody on Dagger, their coach, Michael Dagger Mogosian, and he was like, Shame was really tough. Like, they were really good. And it just shows you how good Hybrid is that they still win by 3. Exist was amazing against Dragon Thrust in their 15-10 win. And I think proved that their 2 seed at this tournament was legitimate and looked like the second best team. I think, maybe Shame. I'd be curious to watch that game, but overall, a relatively chalky tournament for mixed. Obviously Dragon gets the upset over Toro to be one of the only team not seated in the top 4 to make semis. But are you really shocked that Dragon beat Toro? Like, I think probably they were the favorite in that game, even though they were ultimately a little bit lower seeded.
I agree with that. And I feel vindicated, at least. I predicted Shame to get the upset on Hybrid. Excuse me. I do think they gave them their toughest test. And frankly, I don't think Shame played that well. I think they had their shot in the semi. I think they could have played a lot better. I think that was Hybrid's weakest performance potentially. Maybe that's because this matchup was good for Shame. But I think that Shame had a shot. It was 10-9 in this one. And they couldn't close the door, and I think there were too many mistakes on Shame's part. I think they needed Simon Montague and Matty Russell and Rory Veldman to be dominant. And Rory had a pretty good game, but not a perfect game by any means. I think they needed those 3 players to really step out. I think they also Blaise Sevier is another player who could have been a big difference maker as a defender. But I don't know if they were there. I think Connor Tabor had a good game for them. But yeah, I feel like I bet Shame has some regrets about that semifinal. I felt like they could have put forth an even better effort and maybe to actually taken Hybrid down. But Hybrid's really good.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no doubt about it.
It's tough to have 5 turnovers between Montague and Russell and just 3 assists. Like you just need more from those guys if you're going to win that game. But again, I mean, to me, it just speaks to the quality of Hybrid and the defense and the matchups that they're able to pour out there. And Jonathan Mass had an amazing game, 1 goal, 5 assists, a block on just 1 turnover. And Bartlett was awesome. He was probably better in the semi than he was in the final. So
Dalton Smith was a problem on defense for Shame. Dalton Smith was really disruptive for that handler duo, and I think a lot of credit for their rather pedestrian stat lines can go in part to Dalton Smith.
Gertie in the chat says regret in all caps, which is the name of Shame's Masters team, by the way.
Oh, beautiful. I did it on purpose.
So yeah, what else stands out in the mixed division, Keith?
Well, I don't know what to make of Mile High Trash's weekend, because they looked good. Like on tape, they looked good. They finished second in their pool. They made pre-quarters, Charlie. They had a good weekend, right? They're 4 seed in their pool. They make pre-quarters. They won a single game. They won their first game, and they never won again. So did they do well or not? I really don't know. Someone tell me.
I think making pre-quarters isn't quite enough. I think if they had beaten Lawless, then I would say yes, they had a good weekend. But losing to Lawless,
it's every other
feels a little more disappointing. Yeah,
they lost to Lawless, Mixtape, and Conspiracy by 5 back to back to back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to worry about the consolation. They do seem the kind of team that just simply does not care. But I think losing to Lawless, that one stings. Disco Club, pretty disappointing. Losing in pre-quarters to Slow. Like I think they were a team that probably had semis aspirations.
I picked them to make semis, and I think the real problem was that it's less the Slow game, which they did. I believe they got broken on Universe to lose that game. But they needed to win that Mile High Trash game or upset exists.
Yes.
They did not need to be in that Slow game to begin with.
No doubt about it, Keith. But obviously, you can see 3 of the 4 pre-quarters games going to Universe. Pretty exciting stuff. And then, just clearly some separation for those semifinalists. And separation once again for the finalists. And so, pretty spread out results after we got through into that top 8. And overall, a pretty chalky finish to a division that tends to be a little crazier. So interesting to see. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will talk men's division, Revolver's Triple Crown, what the heck happened to Dig, and more. Stay with us. It's Deep Look. All right, everybody, welcome back to Deep Look. Quickly, let's shout out the teams from the women's and mixed divisions that made the World Ultimate Club Championships by finishing in the top 3. Of course, Brood and Fury getting through, and then Scandal beats Molly Brown in the third place game. In mixed, Hybrid and Exist, of course, making the finals. They get through. Shame beats Dragon Thrust in the third place game. And it was Revolver, Machine, and Pony making it in the men's division. Quick shout outs to the Spirit Score winners across the divisions. Pony wins the Spirit Score. They're 6.8 average. Conspiracy in the mixed with 7.14. You love to see that. You know, they just come out to nationals. They're happy to be there, and they're just a good team to play against.
Was there emergency drinking beer score? Is that they probably did well there?
They were the only team with a 7 handle. So they were the number 1 most spirited team at the tournament. And then Scandal with a 6.17. Since I know people will be wondering, the worst spirit score, Fury, with a 4.67. So definitely heard some discussion from some women's division players about Fury's intense defense to the point of too much fouling. So that was a conversation during the tournament. We are looking at on the YouTube right now the final results in our Deep Look fantasy leagues. Look at this. Kyle Kretschmann winning in both women's and mixed. Shout out Kyle.
Don't sleep on Corker Pro, who finished second in both of those divisions too. What's happening?
I don't know. That's wild.
Investigate. This is crazy. We got 2 people. Am I going to send Kyle 2 shirts? I don't know. We'll have to discuss off air. Maybe Kyle will be willing to give one to Corker Pro.
Kyle Kretschmann with an unbelievable performance in the women's division, winning by over 50 points in the end. Let me just give you the lineup, since I'm sure some will be curious. The real key, Kayla Helton captain. That was the starting point for having a great performance in the women's division. Kayla, 16 goals, 23 assists, 6 blocks, just 7 turnovers, 150 points as a captain. Crazy. Also had Dawn Colton, defender, Dina Elamelek, defender, Gina Cartagena, handler, Flo Dion, handler, which that was a mistake because
imagine if they
16 blocks.
Imagine if Flo Dion had been a defender. Imagine.
It's like a 100-pointer. Leanne Hoffman and Sarah Meckstroth as cutters. So nicely done, Kyle. In the mixed league, Kyle also winning there. The lineup was Tanner Johnson as captain. That went very well. 17 goals, 28 assists, 4 blocks on just 6 turnovers. Tanner is unbelievable. Like, Tanner might be Pody again this year. It's not impossible. That's how good he played at Nationals. Then Jade McLaughlin and Zeppelin Ronig at cutter. Jade was the second best performer. 16 goals, 5 assists, 4 blocks, 4 turns. Joey Wiley and Jolie Krebs at handler, and Rachel Mast and Abby Chang at defender. Abby Chang, a really nice pick at defender with 6 blocks, just 1 turn. So nicely done. And Micah Ehrenstein wins in the men's side. And Shirley
gotta have Don Desmarais at captain.
Don Desmarais at captain, which indeed he did. He had Jacob Fairfax and Toby DeCrona at cutter. Fax was a great pick. 20 goals, 7 assists, 2 blocks, just 6 turnovers. Toby DeCrona, Micah Glass and Mac Hecht at handler, both fantastic picks. And then Thomas Edmonds and Michael Ing at defender. Michael Ing at defender, actually his worst overall pick, which is surprising. Just 3 blocks. Just 3 blocks.
Imagine,
at,
he could have made some changes here. Toby DeCrona could have been a handler with those 20 assists. Micah Glass, big numbers for Micah Glass, worth noting.
Huge numbers. So shout out to all of those winners. I guess, does Kyle win 2 prizes?
I'll email Kyle. Kyle and I will dialogue about
all right.
I mean,
maybe he will allow Corker to get a prize, but he could just say give him both to me. It was fun. Fantasy Frisbee was a lot of fun. I hope we can keep doing that in the future. All right, Keith. Men's division. let's watch some highlights. Revolver gets the Triple Crown completed as they get past Machine in the finals. 15-10 final score. Ended up having Machine got the first break, go up 4-3, and then Revolver got 5 unanswered breaks from there to ultimately win 15-10. Mac Hecht was a revelation. What an unbelievable Nationals performance and season for Mac Hecht, who continues to rise to the top of every division that he plays in, Keith.
He was awesome. I mean, just teams could not figure out how to stop him. I saw many teams try to figure out how to stop the Revolver offense, and primarily, how to get the handler coverage you needed on Mac Hecht, and it just wasn't happening. Just had too many tools in the toolkit.
Raycon Adkins hitting the Steph night celly after the 2-hand jam to win the game is definitely one of the coolest winning catches we've seen at Nationals in a while.
Yeah, I mean, Rayquan's always he's a swaggy guy.
So let's take a look at some of the stats. I mean, look, Revolver got the job done with a lot of different players getting involved. I thought Nate Pryor was super good for them. Mac is obviously the straw that stirs the drink for their offense, but really nice play from Adam Reese, Walker Frankenberg, Simon Higgins was really good downfield. Seamus Robinson was great on defense. They were just so deep, and they just did not make many mistakes. And once again, top team start to finish this season.
You're right about the depth. I mean, they played basically everybody in their final, and they got contributions from a lot. It didn't feel like that was like necessarily token. Maybe there's a couple players, but for the most part, they were running 18, 19, 20 strong players out there, and people were doing their jobs well. Like Eli Kearns was like a rotation guy. Simon Higgins is like a rotation guy on their offense. It goes to show you where they were at, because I feel like I could talk about a lot of different players on this team who played well on either side of the ball. But Mac Hecht was obviously the star. He was the guy who brought something a little different to the table than everybody else. It comes out of the final and opens up with back-to-back hammer assists to just kind of set the table. It's like, this is what I'm about. This is what we're doing today. He was fantastic. I thought Adam Reese was probably their second best overall offensive player. And obviously Michael Ing's a great defender, but Dan Riddler was so good at this tournament. That guy
he
was on one defensively.
What a play in semis. What a play. Incredible stuff. Revolver getting past Rhino 15-13 in the semifinals in an absolutely electric game. I mean, I think we're at half in like 30 minutes. Both teams were playing so well. I think there were 2 total turnovers in the first half. And it was just a couple of plays that seemed to decide that game. I mean, Rhino was right there. First break goes to Rhino at 3-2 after a Henry Ing block. And then at 7-7, Revolver breaks to get it back. And then they break out of half, and that they never trailed again. And setting up the stretch run there, Rhino did get a break to get it back within 1 at 13-12. Micah Glass getting a block, but couldn't come up with another break in those final points to get back to level. And once again, a turnover-free 2-goal 4-assist performance from Mac Hecht, and Leo Gordon was great. Adam Reese 4 goals, 2 assists, no turns. Rhino's defense just didn't have a ton of answers for the Revolver O.
Was that Henry Ing block when Revolver thought it might be a good idea to huck it deep to Mac, throw a jump ball at Mac against Henry Ing? That was a foolish moment. I guess you got to test him just to see if he's awake. But otherwise, I thought Mac actually got the better of much of his matchup with Henry Ing. Yeah, for a game that had both every player from last year's D-Pody podium was in this game. So for it to be this clean offensively, it says something. It was chippy too. I think Micah Glass really was not vibing with the Revolver guys, despite the connections between the two teams. They had a lot of disagreements about the level of physicality to have off the disc. And I think we saw some yardage penalties, right, for blue cards in this game, if I
Yes, we
remember
did.
correctly. So
Rarely
it was
seen.
right, a little chippy out there. Not over the line, but the teams were not quite on the same, not in agreement.
And then the other side, Machine over Pony 15-14. A super back and forth, crazy game. Let's see, 5 breaks in the first half. Pony's up 8-6. Then a 4-0 run out of half for Machine. And then Pony breaks back twice on a 3-0 run to get back to the lead 13-12. And then at 13-13, Machine breaks to go up 14-13. Will Wettengel getting one of his 3 blocks in the game. And they end up with a clean hold on Universe to win. Absolutely crazy game. Obviously, it's going to be a big what-if game once again for Pony in these bracket games at Nationals. They have just had the worst injury luck. Harper Garvey going down with a pretty bad knee injury. Starting handler on their offensive line. He can't return. And they still were right in that game. I mean, they were, it was neck and neck. And Pony came out the next day and throttled Rhino in the third place game. So overall, I think a really good Nationals for Pony, but they're just going to have to lick their wounds again. I mean, so tough to have these injuries happen that seem to cost them games every single year, it feels like.
And this one, it's hard not to feel like this didn't impact their ability to win this game, because it really felt like there was kind of a gaping hole in the backfield without Harper there. And maybe that's like to the discredit of Pony, like the fact that they couldn't find somebody else to fill that role with all the stars on this team, or that they couldn't adapt. Or maybe they could. Maybe you say they did, because they ended up making it a game effort here. But it was a disaster start to this game. It was a disaster for both teams. I mean, the first half was a joke. I mean, players dropping the centering pass, throwing passes directly into the ground. I mean, I don't know what was in the air in the first half. It was ugly. It was ugly out there, and such stark contrast to what we had just watched with Revolver and Rhino. And then in the second half, the Machine D-line fires up. This is when I think you most felt the absence of Garvey. I think that Machine felt like, you know what? They're not going to huck it deep anymore. Who's going to send it? No one's going to send it unless they're in power position anymore. They tried to Pony tries to bring out Mickle, I think, to kind of fill the Garvey field stretcher space. And he immediately throws an Oyo to a bidding Donde Murray for an underblock, and that started the run. Durs, I think, also had one of those throwaways to another under. I mean, it was just a cavalcade of poor throwing windows that Machine was closing. And it felt like they might run away with it at that moment. Credit to Cam Warner and Scott Heyman with, I mean, maybe the block of the tournament in the men's division. I don't know.
I think the Ridholler G is still,
and the Dan Ridholler. They're both incredible blocks. Those are some great plays that Heyman nearly turned this game around. But he just ultimately didn't have it.
What happened to Machine in the final? Why was Revolver able to win so easily?
I mean,
it wasn't Donde Murray's fault.
They're the best team. It's that simple. But if you want a more in-depth answer, more insightful, my fears about this Machine team came to life in the final, which is that their D-line has no juice. It helped a lot to have Johnny Mansfield there. He was the juice. He was not the juice in the final. They just couldn't do anything when they got the disc on defense. They Yeah, they made some mistakes on offense. I know a lot of people were harping on Nate Goff throwing away that flick huck from the low side of or from the high side of the field, and he had an open target and he accidentally pushed it out of bounds. But that was just one of the mistakes in this game. Don't forget when Paul Arders misread the pull and let it drop in basically at the back of the end zone, and they gave up
Oh, that was backbreaking.
near Callahan block to Seamus Robinson. I actually think they got this back.
That was the one out of half.
Yes. I do think they ultimately got broken, but
They
on
did
that
get it back.
possession, they got it back. And so it wasn't like doom and gloom, but it just told you what you needed to know about this game.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, they only got 2 turnovers out of the revolver offense. You just can't win with that level of defense. I mean, and it's not even that their defense is bad. They have a good D line. They certainly had their issues offensively after the turnover from the D line this tournament, but they just simply couldn't get the disc off of this revolver offense. Another just huge performance from that whole line. And Mac was just throwing dots. So,
and Machine was experimenting with lots of different things. They tried a lot of different looks to see if they could figure out a way to stop Revolver. They just couldn't find the answer. And when you are on the back foot like that to start, when you have to be the one kind of guessing at trying to hit the moving target, it's just so hard. It's so difficult when a team puts you in that position, and that's how good Revolver's O-line was.
Keith, up there on the top of that bracket, your eyes do not deceive you. Pac-Men over Dig 15-14 to make quarters, where they lose to Revolver 15-9. The number 2 seed at the tournament, a team with many players who just won a UFA championship this summer. Toby DeCrana, Jeff Babbitt. I mean, this team looked like they were poised to meet Revolver in the finals. And instead, they're out in pre-quarters. What happened to Dig?
Well, step one, they lost to Bravo. They got put in this spot by losing to Bravo. They could have been sitting pretty in quarters already, but they couldn't take care of business on day one. So that's your first thing. But then they blew a lead here too. It's not just that they lost this game to Pac-Man. Dig was up 11-7 in this game. If I told you that Dig was up 11-7 on Pac-Man, what's their win percentage there? Like 96% in your mind? 98?
Well, people were asking, like, why didn't we see more of this game on Field Pass? Well, the answer is that it was 11-7. And, like, I don't even think I looked at that game again until someone told me it was, like, 12-11. And then Pac-Man breaks to make it 12-12, breaks again to make it 13-12, and holds out to win. Crazy.
And I will say I haven't seen the film from this game, so I can't say that I've have deep knowledge of it, but our reporters were watching, so I do have the reporters to work off of. So if you want to check out our reporters coverage, both their written coverage on the site, or if you were really smart, you were in the Discord with us, where we had live game threads of basically every game. So there was a reporter on the ground watching all the Ultimate and relaying it to you in the Discord. So if you're not already in the Discord, what are you even doing? But Kins comes up with a huge block on Orion Cable. Sam Grossberg and Adam Grossberg. The stat line I'm being told is 5 goals, 9 assists, 2 turns. So that is gross. That is gross, as it were.
That's insane.
And then
that's insane.
One of the things people are talking about, double game point. No Orion Cable, no Toby DeCrana, no Jeff Babbitt.
Absolutely inexplicable to me.
Wild. It's a D point.
They're on D. They're on D.
Is Jeff Babbitt not good at defense anymore?
I don't have a good answer. That just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Does not compute.
Like, even if those guys are not your absolute top defenders, don't you want some of them on the field, like, to provide confidence to the rest of the line, to provide offense after a turnover if it comes? Like it just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. It really doesn't. Like those, if you were to name the 3 best players on that team, aren't those the players that you name, Keith?
Yes. Yes,
I
I do think
I
that
have a
that would
hard
be the
time
list.
understanding it. I have a hard time understanding it. All right, now, okay. This makes me want to look at the dig stats from this tournament, like the overall stats. So, DeCrona had a great
I mean,
tournament.
we saw his fantasy
20
stats. So he had
assists, 8
8
goals.
and 20. Yeah.
Peter Borth was probably their best defender, and I'm not shocked by that, with 6 blocks. Babbitt had no blocks, for what it's worth.
Well, that's because
Obviously, he's
apparently
playing
they won't
offense.
put him out there. They won't put him out there on defense. Apparently, yeah, I don't know.
So I'm just giving you the facts. Orion
Yeah,
Cable
it's
0
fair,
blocks.
fair.
Toby DeCrona 1 block. Jeff Babbitt 0 blocks. So maybe that's the answer. They weren't the best options to get a block. It's
You might
hard to
be right.
believe that Jeff Babbitt is not an additive to your D line, but I don't know. I mean, his game has changed some.
Yeah. Hey, they'll always have the greatest. You know, they'll always have that one. So
Reg Rigby says people are saying Jake Smart isn't a good coach now. Your thoughts on this? I mean, it is massive overreaction to say Jake Smart's not a good coach after 1 game.
says the guy who on our Reacts pod is like, is Matty saying a fraud? Like, come on.
That is not what I said.
No, it's not.
Stop.
I'm
You are a clown
misrepresenting you.
to throw
I'm
that out here
exaggerating
like I said
your
something
opinion.
like that. Yeah, you're definitely exaggerating, you clown. Now I have to. Now you're talking about another thing, a Reacts pod, that a bunch of people now I have to sit here and say what I did say because you just dropped that out there.
I was
Okay,
kidding.
what did I
folks.
say?
That is
What
not
did I
what
say?
he said.
What did I say? What did I say?
You were asking about Matty Sang's coaching recipe as it pertains to both Team USA and Fury. Like, does it make the most sense really for winning at the highest levels? I get it,
What? That's
but
not
it's
even what I
funny.
said.
But
What
it's
I
not.
said
It's
was
not
that
as
the
funny
team-
as saying that you said that Matty Sang is washed, which is
What I
way
said
funnier.
is that the team had the same kinds of problems that the USA World Games team had. They had the same strengths and the same weaknesses. The strength of running a lineless team is that you can balance your rotations, you keep people fresh, and you are able to play some of the absolute best defense of any team. And I think there's a very good case to be made that Fury's defense was number 1 of the season. They were unbelievable. And, they failed to get enough breaks against Brute Squad, but, that was a 1-game situation. But the Fury offense had problems all season. They turned it over quite a bit, and so did the USA World Games team. And we've seen this from Fury teams of the past that have lost. So my point was that we've seen the same kinds of pros and cons compared to teams that run more rotational based systems. So that is what I said, and I stand by it.
Yeah, but what producer is going to clip is me inaccurately describing that argument so that we get lots of clicks on our Instagram.
God damn it. Now someone's going to clip this and it's just going to be Maddie saying fraud watch. They're just going to, take everything out of context.
I'd say Jake Smart. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this game. I haven't even watched the tape,
Yeah.
so I'm not going to say whether or not I think Jake Smart.
The tape is coming, according to AK.
I've heard. I'm looking forward to it.
Richard, I don't know what his last name is, but it's going to be on Richard's channel. When the film comes out, we will link to it.
It'll be in the Discord for sure, so definitely get there.
AK says Pac-Man forced Jeff Babbitt and Ned Dick to throw deep and forced cutters out. It was enough to come back and get blocks. And Max Charles says we waited to take a lead until there wasn't enough time for them to come back again. All right. So yeah, what else stands out from the men's division, Keith?
What else? I mean, we were looking for the cutoff for the top tier, and is there really much argument against the top the 4 that we got, right? Like the truck stop really felt like they never played at that level at nationals. The Sockeye had some great moments, but they're not. And then knockoff Ring, was Ring going to be in that group? No, not quite. Bravo, awesome on day one. Get pretty thumped by Machine. Turned out the tier was only 4 all along.
Not totally shocking, I don't think. Bravo ends up finishing 9th, so they miss out on being in pro flight. That kind of sucks because, well, I guess only the top 4 get to go to US Open. I forget what the rules are for US Open, but Bravo maybe won't be able to play at home at the US Open.
Shout out freaks. Anybody can get to the US Open, man.
The pro flight qualification stuff is crazy. Just like anything goes. Like the teams that care more in consolation can just make a run to the top 8. Yeah, I think I clearly underrated Bravo. I don't know why I need to just understand that they are a team that plays its best typically at nationals, and their regular season results should be taken with a large grain of salt. And I'm
Well,
going
especially
to
this year.
I'm forever going to remember this. Well, yeah, obviously. So I'm gonna file that away. Shout out to Pony, by the way, for once again dominating their pool. They have dominated their pool. I think they've won the pool for like 7 straight seasons or something. It's a crazy amount of winning for Pony. Do they still have a title window open, Keith?
Pony?
Yeah.
I who are they who are they picking up next year? Tobias Brooks?
The whole North the whole
because
North Carolina, the top players in North Carolina, they're always coming here. That's where we're at.
I mean, they're
now.
gonna need an influx. I mean, but Dameron, Durs and Scott Heyman, and there's a little bit of youth there, and there's some guys to bridge the gap. But the old generation, I think, is coming to a close. So it's hard for me to imagine Pony just falling back to earth totally. But could you see them being the 6th or 7th best team? Yeah, that seems more reasonable.
I mean, you didn't even say John Randolph, did you? I mean, I think he could be
Never heard of him.
Star of the future for them.
Yeah, I didn't say him. I mean, I was gonna make a note about Bravo. Have you looked at Bravo's stats? Say no.
From the weekend?
Please say no. Yeah,
I have not.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you. Somebody on Bravo led them in goals and tied for the lead in assists. Who do you think that is? There's no chance you get this right.
I led in goals and tied for second in assists. Is that what you said?
Led them in goals and tied them for first in assists.
Zeke.
You can look at their roster, I guess, if you want. That's a good guess. It's not Zeke.
I probably wouldn't be Nethercutt because he wouldn't lead them in goals. I don't even know who else scores a lot of goals for them.
It's the answer. The answer to the question is Elliot Hawkins, a guy who just finished his freshman year in college. Whoa! Right?
Wow! Wow!
I don't know what's going on there, but I need to see the tape.
12 goals, 15 assists. Damn. By the way, Zeke Thorson is a absolute, clearly top 25 player in the division right now. I just want to say that.
He's good.
That dude is really good.
Those guys are both on Mama Bird next year, right?
No more sleeping on Zeke Thorson. I know he's been good in college, but I'm ready to talk about him as a pody candidate for college next year.
Yeah, I mean, for him to do what he did on offense this year, after what he did on defense in college last year, I mean, this is getting interesting. Very interesting out there.
All right. Let's get to our mailbag question of the week. I think it's time.
All right. This week's mailbag question of the week. I'm going to paraphrase some of this. I remember some years back a conversation between Charlie and Keith about some goals for Ulti World's coverage, especially in nationals. And a lot of those things that you talked about have been achieved. More games being filmed, more cameras on, doing the finals, things like that. What are the next steps from here? Whether it's in tech you'd like to get a hold of, changes you want to make to coverage, whatever it might be, your big dreams. What's next for Ulti World?
That's a great question. The shortest answer is that we're probably going to make pretty significant, what I would consider like back end changes to how we do our broadcasts, which could include building out an entire production trailer this off season. Right now, we fly in with all of our gear in cases. It's an effort. It's 30 Pelican cases that fill an entire like U-Haul van or truck. And then we have to set it all up. Now, there's a reason most production companies have a van or a truck or a trailer of some kind with all of the stuff pre-built, and then you drive it there and then you set up your shows. So that's one thing. And that's not necessarily something that's going to be like a huge change to the way that the fan at home experiences the tournament, but it does improve significantly what we're going to be able to do and the consistency and the quality. And there's other things like, we're getting more new cameras. I've been really, really excited to be adding in Nathan Kalakovic's angles into our live broadcasts. I think that's been a huge addition. There's like a lot of small things, and like you probably noticed some of them. Even if you didn't notice them, like things are happening behind the scenes. Like we were doing a lot more work with stats, doing a lot more work on how we do our replay and how many people we have doing replay. I think that the replay we did this weekend is for like semis, specifically semis and finals, is the best replay that has ever been done in Ultimate. We have more angles, the best operators, like, and I think it makes the broadcast way better to be able to see all of these big moments, and like just for upgrading stuff, new drone, new things like that. So for next year, I will say, for one, I'm going to advocate for them to split pre-quarters and quarters into
Yes,
into 2 rounds each, because I think it would be really nice to be able to show more of the bracket games. If we get that, and there's only 6 games per round of each of pre-quarters and quarters, then we will find a way to get all of those games streamed. Like right now, we're streaming 5 games around, but we would, at least for that day, have 6 games streamed per round in full that you could watch from home. There's like, obviously it would be nice to always just add more and cover more games and stream more games, but there is like diminishing returns to doing that. So, but I would love to be able to say we're streaming all of the bracket games, and it would have been nice this year to have full footage, for instance, of Pac-Man Dig. But the way they're doing it right now, where they're stacking 8 quarters into that second quarters round, it just makes it hard to cover all that because there's just too many games to stream all of those. And it's not just like getting an extra camera is fairly easy. Getting that stream onto the internet is actually like not trivial because you have to have a lot of equipment to make that happen. So that's the big stuff, I think. Keith, you have anything to add?
No, I think more stats. We'll keep doing more stat stuff. Finding new ways to bring that data to you. I would love to. I think we're already talking about ways to engage with you more directly. Including through the broadcast. Being able to bring comments from our subscribers to the broadcast, to answer questions during broadcast, things like that, or having simulcasts with different audio channels. I know a lot of people were really excited about Inside Out this year, so doing more between game or pre-game, post-game kind of stuff. Hopefully that's something that we can make a part of it. More games. I know a lot of people really had a lot of fun with fantasy. I know I did. So more stuff like that as well. So it's those aren't exactly like big dream goals. That's more small stuff, but it is stuff that we're hoping to bring to you to the forefront as we get further into next year. I want to advocate for Charlie to get. Charlie and I are going to continue to push hard to get finals in the evening. that's maybe that should be priority number one.
I think I've given up, Keith. I just want them to get off that awful ass field that we have to watch the games on.
I'm trying to get Charlie to hire.
The facility's honestly pretty nice, but the field itself is so ugly with that gigantic high school logo and all these lines all over the place.
So many lines.
The players getting confused about the lines. There's so many lines.
So many lines. I'm trying to get Charlie to hire an actor to pretend to be a judge, and then have people bring their cases to the judge, and then we'll stream that. So if you want to hear Judge Judy Ultimate Edition kind of thing, that's my next big plan. Well, Charlie's hearing this for the first time.
Was this a strip kind of thing? What are we talking about?
Sadie and Dalton, bring it to the court.
So yeah, looking forward to continuing to improve things and sharpen up and add more people to the broadcast to help things be a little bit smoother. Probably noticed a few mistakes here and there, mostly because we just have a lot going on. We had, just to let people behind the scenes a little bit, we had a technical director, who's the person who's clicking the buttons on the switcher, a director, 2 replay operators, and then I was producing, also running the audio mix and doing the majority of the graphics. So that's a little too much, and we need to add a little bit more personnel into the truck to smooth out that process so that it's not all, too many roles falling on one person. And
that's
just, we love our team. That's just production. Yeah, that's
right.
Not
there's 6 camera operators, a PA, 3 commentators, a stat person. There are 15 or 20 people working to bring you a single semifinal or final broadcast.
Yes, and the reporters who are doing work to help the broadcast prepare and to share the stories for people at home. Absolutely. So that is going to do it for this edition of Deep Look. We don't have our other game stats up yet, do we? Beat Charlie Challenge and things. Is that be next week, Keith?
The Beat Charlie Challenge is not. I do have the data for the game, but I have not published it yet. I did share it in Discord. So I have the game results from this year's new version of the game. I have not done the Beat Charlie Challenge yet, and neither have been put on the website yet. So we probably could just holster that for next week.
All right, we'll save it for next week.
If you really want to know how your game team did, I can tell you.
If you're a subscriber, make sure you catch up on our Nationals pods. We had a couple of reporter roundtables, revolver roundtables. And Keith and I also did a couple of pods, some reacts following the quarters day and then the finals day, I think. So that's all in your personal RSS feed for all subscribers. So we'll help you join us there. And hey, the season's not over, folks. We've got Beach Worlds in just a couple of weeks in Portugal. And so that's going to be super exciting. So it's still a great time to sign up.
We also have
catch up
CCC
on all the games.
in 2 weeks.
Yes, we do.
I think
we will be streaming 2 games around from CCC. So fire up for some College Ultimate. And then, yeah, we're just a little over about 2.5 weeks away from Beach Worlds in Portugal. So looking forward to that down on the southern coast. And we will roll on through Deep Look throughout the holidays as we kind of wrap up the club season stuff next week. Start looking ahead a little bit to college, Beach Worlds, and
awards,
fun off-season stuff.
Awards season debates have already begun, and there's some good debates to be had in this club set.
I mean, I think the Player of the Year conversation is not easy in mixed and women's. I personally think it's easy in the men's division.
I agree with that. I agree with that assessment of the fields. But there's some really tough calls across all these awards. It's going to be an interesting voting process.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. So stay tuned for that. That'll be out in a week or two. thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And if you joined us for our Nationals coverage, we certainly appreciate hearing from you. You can always email us, me and Keith, at deeplook@ultiworld.com. And you can find us in the Discord. We've already got a big thread going in the general channel about Nationals coverage feedback. So please go there, give us your thoughts, good and bad. And we look forward to a really great 2026. But Beach Worlds is first, so let's not hibernate yet. For Keith Raynor, I'm Charlie Eisenhood, signing off for this edition of Deep Look. We will talk to you next Tuesday, noon Eastern, in our normal time slot. Talk to you then.
Shout out to everybody who came by and said hi.